Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. Let's begin a new chapter, Cell Cycle and Cell Division. What is meant by cell division? Cell division is nothing but a cell divides into two or sometimes more daughter cells. So, a cell which is undergoing division can be called as mother cell. So, mother cell divides to get daughter cells. Two main different types of cell divisions are possible. Mostly the cells in our body, they undergo a cell division called a mitosis, where one cell or the one mother cell divides to become two. Imagine if you are growing, you are all in a growing stage, right? If you want to grow, your height is increasing or your body organs are developing proportionately. You are adding more cells. How can you add more cells? In cell theory we learned every cell can form only from a pre-existing cell. So if you have 100 cells today, tomorrow it will become 200 cells because each cell will divide into 2. Next day it can become 400, next time when it is dividing. So that is how the growth is happening by adding more and more cells. But only in your puberty stage, your reproductive cells become active. Your reproductive cells undergo a separate type of division where the gametes are produced. We will deal about that later. Let's focus on all the rest of the cells except the reproductive cells. This division is called a mitosis. Every organism has a life cycle, right? What does life cycle mean? From the birth till death, the stages an organism undergoes is called its life cycle. So usually it is more or less same for everyone. For human beings, if you see or other mammals, after birth they have growth stage. Once they grow and they attain reproductive ability, they will enter into their reproductive phase of life cycle where they reproduce. After that they come to a stage called old age. In plants we call it as senescence, and finally death will occur. The same way every cell also has got all these things happening in the life, that is called a cell cycle. But in cell cycle the events are little different. Like how we are growing in childhood, the same way a newly produced cell also grows. Why? Because one cell is dividing into two. So naturally what happens to the size? It will be small, right? Suppose one chocolate, if you cut it into two, you will get two halves smaller than the actual one, right? The same way. So first the cell has to grow little bit. But since only growth is not enough because they are supposed to divide into next to two daughter cells. So when they are having chromosomes, they should ensure that the same number of chromosomes are there in the newly formed daughter cells as well. Imagine I am coming with the notes of the cell cycle with me. It has got 4 pages. So I am meeting you and you are asking me, ma'am, can you give me the notes? I told, okay, yes, you can take it. Immediately your best friend also coming and the child is also asking me for the notes. Ma'am, I also want the notes. Then what do? I take back the notes from you. Suppose there are 4 pages. I split it into 2, give 2 pages to you and 2 pages to the other child. Will that work? No, because each of you receiving only half the topic, half you are missing out. So you won't be able to study the entire chapter. So in this case, what can we do? We have to take a copy of that. Then I will give one to your friend and one to you. So both of you have the entire content of the chapter. The same thing is happening in our body. Suppose we have 46 chromosomes. That means 23 pairs. If the cell simply divides, we know if it is an equal division, each new cell will have only 23 chromosomes. That is not enough to survive. It needs all the 23 pairs of chromosomes. So what should we do? Before the cell divides, the DNA should make a copy of that. Right? So that is called a DNA replication process. About replication you will learn in 12th standard in detail. So during DNA replication, every DNA is making one more copy of it. So that means, suppose this is the initial DNA strand and this is another DNA strand, 2 of them. So the first one duplicates and make another copy of that. Second one also duplicates and make another copy of that. But still these two are considered same, these two considered the same. So initially what was the number? We had 2. After duplication also, we consider the number to be 2, but the content has doubled. So I'll just show you how it happens. Suppose this is the initial one strand of DNA. Okay? Now what happens? It will form one more new strand like this. So the chromosome ultimately gets 2 arms. That is the duplication. But still, is there any change in number? No. Initially also it was 2. Now also 2. So that means the number is changing. Only the content of the DNA doubles after replication. So prior to cell division, 2 things should happen. First is cell growth, then DNA replication. Along with that cell growth, after this replication also, all the contents required for equal amount, everything should be distributed, right? So all the other contents also will be prepared in such a way that the cell is ready to divide. Then only the division takes place. So all these steps should be happening in a very sequential and controlled manner in order for the cell to have the entire content in it so that it can survive. So this entire thing, including DNA replication, growth, division, that is called a cell cycle. Entire sequence of events through which a cell duplicates its genome, that is DNA replication, makes other contents needed for the cell and eventually divides into 2, that is called a cell cycle. But the duration taken for division of the cell or the cell cycle varies in different cells. For example, if it is a human cell, it has 24 hours for division. But if it is a yeast cell, unicellular fungus, it takes only 90 minutes. That means 1.5 hours for its division. So the time for division may vary. Now, if you see one cell, okay, it divides into 2. Suppose this is the mother cell. It divides into 2 daughter cells. Then it has to grow, make the DNA double, means replication. Then only it will again divide into 2. So that the ratio will remain the same or the size will remain the same. So this process, that is after the division, from here till it divides next, that is called a cell cycle, we told. In that, what all things are happening? DNA duplication, cell growth and preparation of the other contents of the cell. So the cell cycle can be divided into 2 phases. So the first phase where all these happening prior to actual division is called what? The interphase. Inter means in between. The phase in between 2 division is called a interphase. That means one cell divided into 2 daughter cells till it becomes the next 2 daughter cells. What is happening to this? Growth, replication of DNA, everything together called a interphase. Whereas the actual division phase is called a M phase or the mitotic phase. So every cell cycle has got 2 phases, or cell division involves 2 phases, the interphase and the mitotic phase. Now interphase we call by another term also, that is called a resting phase. Why are we calling it as resting phase? Because at this time there is no division happening. So since the cell is not dividing, we are telling the cell is resting. But is it actually resting? No, it is actually a misnomer. The cell is in highly active state. It is doing a lot of preparation for the next division, but still we are calling the cell is resting. The same way, if you have asked your parents or if you know how to cook, the most of the time goes in preparation stage, right? We have to chop the vegetables and arrange everything. After that, final cooking process is very quick. It may take maybe 10 to 15 minutes depending on the cooking time. Otherwise, preparation time takes more time for us. The same way, the division happens in a jiffy, but 95% or more than 95% of the time is utilized in interphase or the resting phase of the cell. So, suppose if it is a 24-hour cell cycle like human cells, 23 hours will be utilized for preparation, but the ultimate division will happen only in 1 hour. Okay. Please do share my videos with all the friends so that you can help me reach more audience. That will make a lot of difference in my content creation. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology, My Passion. Thank you for watching.